Hey everyone! First off, I wanted to thank those who have listened to my videos so far, and I hope that you're finding them useful or helpful either for yourselves or for family and friends that may be learning about MS along with you. Today, I wanted to talk about a symptom that I feel probably most of us or many of us have either experienced at some time or have it as a full time symptom, and also a symptom that I think is somewhat misunderstood, and that being spasticity. Oftentimes our neurologists or doctors will throw out terms at us, and whether we're new to the diagnosis or I've never heard of these things before, they can sometimes be overwhelming to think, okay, what is that? What is spasticity? Is it pain? Is it a different symptom altogether? Does it have more to do with a neurological type of thing, or is it more muscular? And to be honest, I'm not a doctor and I'm definitely not a neurologist, so I certainly can't answer them maybe as much from a medical term standpoint. But what I can do is just share my experience with the symptom and how it's affected my life. So for me, spasticity has been an extremely debilitating symptom, something I would describe as almost like I'm a tin man and I can't move. Like, it's so suffocating at times. You want to move your legs, but your legs just feel so tight and so heavy that the inability to move them exists at times, and it can feel a lot like paralysis, depending on the day. For me, I also have a constant MS hug, and that is a form of spasticity. So, right around my torso, all the way around my back, depending on how bad the day is, it can get so bad that it's difficult for me to take a breath. It almost feels as if my ribs are going to crack. So spasticity is definitely very debilitating. In my legs, you'll see my legs bounce up and down. At other times, it just looks like my legs are perfectly fine, but they are far from perfectly fine. And I wanted to share just a little bit of what I've learned from my neurologist and my new neurologist and about spasticity. And he said it is a form of pain. So any type of pain medication that you're on for nerve pain should help it to a degree. But basically, the response to the brain and the muscles is disrupted somewhere. For me, it's disrupted in the lesion that I've talked about before on my spinal cord in between my shoulders. And so that message cannot get through, and that message is disrupted. So pain signals or signals of spasticity are being fired back to the brain in a negative way. And I feel if I didn't have spasticity, I'd be able to just breathe better. I'd be able to walk more smoothly. I wouldn't be dragging my legs as much. I wouldn't be tripping as much. I wouldn't feel like they're 5,000 pounds. But that right there, the weight, the feeling of the weight of your legs being heavy, I've also been told by my neurologist, sometimes people get mixed up with the feeling of spasticity. So the feeling of heaviness usually comes from weakness in the muscle, which is kind of a secondary symptom to everything else we deal with, a secondary symptom to spasticity and to pain, because when you're not able to use your legs and you're not able to walk and you're wheelchair bound, or you don't exercise as much, the muscles become deconditioned, atrophy sets in. And so for me, when I walk, I can't lift my foot fully off the ground. I can't, if I was laying on my stomach, I wouldn't be able to bend my foot to my butt. So there's an extreme hamstring weakness, a really bad hip flexor weakness, the drop foot sets in, and that gives a feeling of heaviness. And then the spasticity gives the feeling of tightness. So combined, we basically feel like we can't move. We just feel paralyzed a lot of the time. And when I go back to some of those environmental factors of what we eat, the weather, if we sleep or not, if we are sick or not, all of those things affect the spasticity for me. So I know if I'm catching something based on if my spasticity and my pain is worse or not. I know if I've been in the sun too long, if I get up and I just, like, literally you freeze. You're like, okay, I want to go, and your brain's saying move, and your body's just not responding. That happens every day, but it happens even more when I've been in humidity or in the heat. If I don't sleep, that's another one. If I don't sleep, my legs are bouncing all over the place when I don't want them to, and when I want them to move, they're not responding. Um, so if I eat something that my body doesn't agree with, so as I've mentioned, I've decided to go the vegan route, see how that works for me, and I've also for probably a year and a half or 2 years now have been gluten free, and if I eat something with gluten, I'm not celiac, but my whole entire body, from my chest, wherever the symptoms of the pain and the MS are, all the way down my legs, will totally flare up in pain, but the spasticity will go out of control. So I won't be able to move as well, just feel like I can't breathe, as I mentioned, that I can't move, that my legs should move. I'm telling them to, but they just won't. And when I try and take that step, especially with my right leg, my foot just won't come through. It'll come through part way, and then it'll start like shaking as it goes, or I'll trip over something. So that's sort of what my experience with spasticity has been. From what I've learned, it definitely is a symptom of pain. For me, not many of the medications I've tried have helped. So Lyrica has not helped, baclofen has not helped. Right now I'm on clonidine, and it seems to be the best, but still takes off the edge. So with the clonidine combined with the gabapentin, that's what I rely on to help with the spasticity. But I've also found that stretching helps. So even though spasticity is a neurological symptom, it still translates down to our muscles. So if I'm having a really bad day of spasticity, I'll also notice that my muscles are tighter. So if I try to do yoga stretching or any type of stretching, it'll feel more difficult to do that. And afterwards, although I may not get too much benefit out of it, it definitely is always a good thing to keep your muscles stretched out. So I definitely recommend stretching. I would recommend watching what you eat. I know gluten definitely affects it for me. And I will keep you posted on how the vegan thing turns out. But from what I've researched and from someone I know who has gone through MS very badly, the animal protein really affects her pain and spasticity. So I will leave it at that. And by the way, if any of you have something you want to hear more about, just leave a question or even leave an idea for me to do my next video on. And I'm always open to hearing feedback and hearing from you guys. So thanks again for watching this video, and I'll see you at the next one.